What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for October 13th, 2025. Citizencon was this week, and it came with a big surprise in the form of a system. Instancing is probably going to be as polarizing a topic as anything has ever been in Star Citizen, and a new boss fight dropped on the PTU, and I guess it's pretty cool. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first week in review, this is where I take all of the official Star Citizen news each week, put it into one video, and share some of my opinions about it. I also live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaltEMike. Stop by and say hi. We're going to be covering a lot of the Citizencon stuff this week, of course. And yeah, we got a lot of that to get into. But before we do, let me share with you today's sponsor. Thank you to Toby and the Tobii Eye Tracker 5 for sponsoring today's video. I use Tobii every single day, whether it's in PvE combat, PvP combat, content creation, or simply logging into my computer. As a Star Citizen player, it's extra nice though because of the direct integration into the game and its settings. You have so many things you can tweak to get exactly what you want out of the Tobii Eye Tracker 5. For example, you can have your player's head move based on your head or eye movement, or a combination of the two. My preference is to just only have it move based on my head movement. I mostly use this to track targets that have flown out of the standard view to get them back on your crosshair as soon as possible. Before I used this, I had no idea just how impactful being able to track this way really was. My favorite feature though is target gaze. So remember when I said I don't do the eye tracking part? Yeah, that was just for the head movement. In Star Citizen, because I have a Tobii, the game knows which target I'm looking at, and I can lock on that specific one with one click. When you have a lot of the things on the screen that Star Citizen does, this comes up really big. And lastly, as you can see, I wear glasses. It tracks perfectly with them on, and you don't even need studio lights or cameras like this to pick anything up either. You could be in extremely low light and it works just fine. So if you're interested in picking up a Tobii Eye Tracker 5, head over to tobii.gg/SaltEMikeCon25 for 15% off. And there is also a special link for a sweepstakes in the description for a free Tobii Eye Tracker 5, so don't miss out. All right, and with all the bills paid, we have so much to cover, so let's jump into those patch notes. All right, and we started on Monday with a 4.3.2 PTU, and this was basically entirely FPS balance. They started with weapon sway with the idle animations if you aren't holding your breath. Sniper balance is next. They properly penetrate shields now, and the ADS-Cav can now, and I believe it's the only sniper that can one-tap a heavy helmet. It annihilates light armor as well on NPCs, but PvP-wise, I don't know if this is really going to be in the meta because it's just not that great of a gun, but that is a big deal for some PvE or maybe some PvP situations. It might be useful in. I'm only able to test the AO3 for some of these sniper things, but the AO3 and the scalpel have quicker ADS times, as you can see at the bottom. The left is the PTU with the right being live. It's slightly faster. LMGs have been updated with the Volt having higher damage at the start since it was a little soft at low heat, and the F55 had its spread reduced, which is big. SMGs were probably the biggest change in my opinion, with the Custodian getting a big buff. Look at the difference in spread. That's wild, right? The C54 is a bit less noticeable, but I think it is making you have more of a choice now with, instead of always going with a certain meta weapon, some of these might, like light fighters, there's just more choice than they've had before. And the Quartz looks like it's getting a little nerf, perhaps to its heat based on damage, but the base damage went up, so to compensate, I just don't know how this is going to end up DPS-wise. But as you can see, the overheat is at the exact same time. Tuesday, we had another 4.3.2 PTU, and the first thing is prices for salvage. RMC was reduced significantly from over 7K down to about 5 at Orison, and construction materials got a massive buff from 2.1K to over 8,000 per SCU. More on that in just a moment. The Reclaimer was supposed to get a cargo grid on its lift, but as far as I'm aware, throughout the entire week, it never had one. So, not sure what's going on there, but somebody needs to tell them. The rear chute, I assume, is the thing that is going down further in these notes, and it does make dropping 16 SCU containers out of the ship much better, so you're able to get that raw salvage into your refinery and get it working. Lastly, yield updates are really weird. The Vulture and Fortune are yielding like 30% of the raw material into something useful, and the Reclaimer is all the way down to 15%. So that price hike is not as big of a hike as it seems, because now you have to take a ton of time and you don't get as good of a yield. It's overall a price hike for RMC, but it's not very good. Then for mission updates, they added PvP mission tabs, or a PvP mission tab, and it currently is only populated by PvP bounty missions. This bothered people a lot because I think they wanted people to come after them, and this would let unsuspecting players know. And yeah, the devs honestly talked about this during the week. We're not going to touch on it much here, but they were like, hey, we don't want new players to not know what they're getting into. I think that's fine. Wednesday, 4.3.2 PTU, we have to start out with the Your Mandy. It was added to the ASD cave, and yeah, that we showed last week, and the fight was really cool. Not too difficult, very similar mechanic to the Apex fight so far, where you have to kind of shoot out those weak points, but there's a little bit more to it. Volt weapons are recommended as you stun them, and they drop 2 eyes and 1 tongue for a Wicklow turn-in. For economy changes, I only checked on mining materials, and they did raise the percentage price of aluminum. It was 322 on live, and it is 364 on the PTU. Not a huge change, of course, but they spent time on it, so we'll mention it. The rest are commodity cargo changes in an attempt to make them more appealing. I haven't had time to check those out, but I still doubt that they'll compare to some of the cargo missions, since those have 0 risk, right? Then we had a Wednesday launcher update. The most notable change is they added the Star Engine logo to the loading of the launcher itself, so nothing really big to share there. Thursday, we had another 4.3.2 PTU, and yeah, more Your Mandy polish, but the doors just still never opened for me, so I never saw it in that PTU. Friday, the focus was again on the Your Mandy fight, and it took an org searching for a working door to finally find one, and we ran into the fight 2 times. We ran the fight 2 times, I should say, and then it broke. So the doors wouldn't open again. They have a lot more work on this door thing and getting that working right. If they do, it's a great system because it prevents other players from intruding into the fight. We'll talk a little bit more on stuff like that when we get into Citizencon, but it's got to work. And they have to fix this door glitching stuff as well, because people can still glitch in if they want to. That was the patch updates. Your Mandy's really cool. We figured out that you can, shock it, and then it makes the fight a little bit easier. With that, let's move into Roadmap Roundup. All right, this roundup is quite small, so we're just going to kind of fire right through it and, just get to the good stuff. So first off, they added salvage changes without a big explanation. The Klaus and Warner art refactor got its visual added to the roadmap this week, and they added the visual for the card for Wicklow ships. But I'm not going to lie, they don't overly look exciting, and the Crusader ships kind of look factory stock. The FPS turrets are in-game now, and yeah, they look pretty good and updated their images as well. They also updated the card for the new armor set, and the new event has a proper name, Frontier Fighters Finale. Mission pickup on location is still listed as tentative, but wasn't it last time, and the patch before that, and the patch before that as well? Yeah. And lastly, the Your Mandy cards for the creature and the location are updated, and yeah, now that you can fight them. So with that, let's get into the meat of this week, and that is Citizencon. All right, there is a lot to cover here, but we have to start out with the chairman, of course, who dropped the biggest surprise of the show right away.
Last year, we announced our next star system would be Nyx, home to the People's Alliance of Levski and bordering the Vandal threat. Today, we're proud to share that your adventures in Nyx begin not next year, but next month, when Star Citizen's 3rd system comes online in Alpha 4.4. 2 new systems in 1 year. That's only possible because of the tireless work of our development teams, server meshing accelerating what's possible, the support teams behind the scenes, and most importantly, all of you.
So yeah, this was a huge surprise. We all expected to see Nyx, but not be playing it so soon. Not maybe in a preview, but yeah, this is in 4.4. That is insane. The next part was a lot of lore, but of the 2-hour show, it was about 30 minutes or so. And yeah, people were pretty upset about that. A lot of the lore that we already know even, which was kind of weird. But in that segment, we did get a bit of interesting gameplay information, so we'll touch on that now.
So because Nyx is bordering Vandal space, it was important that we have a gap in the Nyx gas cloud where you could sort of just in between the clouds see a piece of the Vandal space. It feels so close that it's even like protruding some red light. The level designers are using it as an actual visual indicator of where to place more dangerous POIs. So if you point your ship in the direction of it, you should find, as we build it out, that you will be in more and more danger.
First off, I love the color contrast of the system. It does look ominous out there in the distance, but the fact that as we get closer to it, if we're quantum traveling, I think the more we'll get kind of like Vandal engagements, which I find to be very cool. And after that was our first retcon, but it's only temporary.
For the jump points in Nyx, we'll have 2 on this release. We'll have 1 from Pyre to Nyx and 1 from Stanton to Nyx. It should be going from Nyx to Castra, but we're essentially bypassing Castra temporarily.
Hey, we want to make sure you can get there any way you want.
I think this is probably fine given the situation with quantum traveling not being final and some of the flight model stuff, right? But we're supposed to move from Stanton to Pyro, then to Nyx, is my understanding. But I do hope that they spend some time thinking about this because the trip is very daunting right now, right? There is a ton of lore and just general location talk that continued throughout this. First, about the Glacian Belt, which is very large asteroid belt that they plan on placing content in over time. The next part was the main landing zone, Levski. We've been there before, but this is the much more improved, especially from the exterior. It is not just a gray sphere anymore. It is, it's something to look at, right? They spend a ton of time here, so a little time that I'm spending on it doesn't do it justice. So definitely feel free to watch the video itself or my reacts on the TV channel that are going to be posted throughout the week. Next, I really struggle with how to cover this segment, and the feedback on this segment was very negative. Not because of the content that they talked about, but about the fact that the entire thing seemed to be spoiled in the description of the mission that they shared. So I will say this mission seems really cool, but it doesn't really, I don't see the point of spoiling the whole thing for you guys, right? So I'll just give you this one thing as it's already known about the lore in the system and everyone kind of expected it.
So not only is this facility unabandoned, but it's also under attack from a surprising but familiar foe.
First time in the PU, the Vandal.
All right, so there's a lot more to this in this location. There's a new faction inside the facility as well, and there's a lot to learn about these guys. From what I can tell, no Vandal on foot anywhere, but the mission looks really cool, and for excitement in November's sake, I think we should just leave it there. Next was some of the absolutely insane looking planetscapes that are using the new version 5 planet tech. But again, this isn't really something I can break down, right? So we'll just overlay some of the insane visuals while we talk about some of them, right? Rocks will now spawn where they should. So mining will likely be around more mountainous regions and or cavernous regions, perhaps. Hunting animals or in like forests or biome, or forest or plain biomes. The planet biome dictating not just the visuals, but content seems really cool. And also is kind of exploration-like as well, right? So I found this to be really cool, but again, we have a ton to get through, so it didn't make a lot of sense to break that down. Now, a new mission type. And this sounds to me like a foundationally important one.
Up until now, our mission system has been specific to the star system you're in. meaning a Stanton mission has to take place in the Stanton system, and a Pyro mission has to take place there. We've never been able to link these together, but with the introduction of our third star system, it's time for this to change. And that begins with the introduction of interstellar cargo.
What are you talking about today?
System-to-system hauling missions. Hauling is back.
No one said hauling was gone. He doesn't even play the game.
These are exactly what they say on the tin. Missions where you're going to start in, say, Stanton and end in Nyx, taking various volumes of cargo between the stations. So there'll be high volumes of cargo that kind of fulfill the purpose for the Hull C and the other series of Hull ships. And there'll be a few sort of more direct routes.
So you might pick up some cargo from Ruin Station in Pyro and go through the jump point to Stanton and drop it off there at one of the Elios. One thing that we're looking to add with these interstellar missions is scripted combat encounters where you can be attacked by NPC ships. Maybe the mission giver has tipped off some pirates who are looking to get a hold of that cargo, as well as express missions, which means the deadline timers that you're used to in the regular hauling missions might get really tight and you've got to learn to be very fast. All of the love and care that has gone into hauling missions so far, with the logistical network and making sure they make sense within the themes of the systems, just as much love has gone into the interstellar missions we're making now.
The ideal of interstellar missions is the important part. Maybe not the cargo part. You may not want to run cargo, right? But a bounty mission could maybe take you to Nyx, or a general quest line that takes you from system to system. This is big. It's important. It may not feel that way in the short term, but I really think it is. And then we have a piece of content that looks oddly familiar.
At the start of the show, we said we was going to build out the Nyx system right in front of you after 4.4 launches next month. And while we want to keep as much of what we're doing behind closed doors, so you can discover it for yourself, in-game and on your own, we still are excited to share with you a brief look at one of our up-and-coming locations we're calling Rockcracker. These were originally industrial facilities breaking apart large asteroids and mining them down. As you bring these stations back to life, you'll be lighting the beacon and calling attention to these long-forgotten places.
It's up to you and your friends to find how to get in.
There'll be a variety of options. Whether you're discovering the bowels of the station and mining your way through long-forgotten tunnels, or you're going through the main laser entrance. Now, as you're traversing through the facility, you'll find the old engine room. Now, there may be ways to bring the facility back to life, kickstart the engines, and bring power to different parts of the facility. Maybe eventually bringing the laser back online and cracking some rocks. You've fired the laser. You've broken apart the rock. And then you'll be able to fly your ship inside and see what's there.
So you fly a ship into an asteroid.
Yeah. You just get into your ship and fly in and start searching around and trying to find the pieces that you want to mine.
So Rockbreaker is Hathor in space, right? And that should be, I'm here for it. That should be a great time. I really like the idea of Hathor, and as the game progresses on the economy or industrial side, the need, or I hope, for players that are going to need to farm these kind of things should, in theory, make them hotbeds for orgs and alliances and, you know, just general fighting, right? And yeah, not instance content. Things we fight over in the sandbox. Next, they talk about the 3 new ships, and I have a really weird issue on the PTU where not the copy issue that a lot of people have, I literally can't access my cart on the website. And yeah, I did get that fixed, but I just got it fixed like 15 minutes ago. So I haven't had time to actually fly these ships. So yeah, there's the Paladin, the Stinger, and the Shiv, and we'll talk about it quickly when we discuss their sales in the other updates section. But yeah, they then move on to FPS weapons, and yeah, we've seen these before, and they're finally coming.
Rocket launcher, the LMG, and the long-awaited Space AK.
I think this is the one that not only is the most in demand, but I've been politely badgered about the most. It's a fun rifle that basically fires energy and ballistic in sequence. So your first shot will be your ballistic, your second shot will be the energy. You'll see on the top of the art, there is a bolt that cycles the rounds, and that goes off with the ballistic shot, but it does not go off with the energy shot. And that is just like a really fun way of making a weapon work in kind of like a scrappy, glued together kind of aesthetic. The LMG, this thing is a really fun, slow-firing, hard-hitting beast.
It will bring the 50 cal, and the only other weapons that have this right now in the verse are the Bearing Sniper Rifle and the Coda.
Honestly, if you even get hit by one, you just instant tier 1 injury, back to medical.
Are you even trying anymore?
You know what? We made all these really complicated, fancy guns, and some people just I want a slow-firing rifle. Give me a scrap-together box that fires the biggest thing you can possibly find.
We don't have a rocket launcher of this caliber. It will be 3 grenades straight together that you pull into the tube and fire towards your enemies. The cool part about it will have an arming distance, so you will not be able to just point it towards an enemy.
It's also going to have a lot of spread. So essentially, you're going to have to get very close with your launcher to be able to blow up ships with a single payload in it.
So these are cool, but like most weapons, I just look forward to getting them in my hands. You can rent these in Arena Commander right now if you want to, and not purchase them on the website. So yeah, good on them for that. So you can give feedback and you can enjoy them now, and I suggest that you do. All right, strap in, guys, because crafting is next. They are going to be, there's just going to be a lot of clips and a lot of commentary from me. So, all right.
First version of crafting is going to be quite small in scale. We're going to use it as a kind of a concentrated effort to allow the players to experience the initial UI, the flow of gathering materials that have different quality, and using those to craft items which are better than what they have currently in the game.
The first version is going to be primarily FPS items that you can craft, weapons and armor. For Star Citizen, crafting is our primary progression mechanic. Star Citizen isn't your standard MMO. We don't have levels. We have ships, we have gear, we have things that you create in the world, you perfect, you research, you improve, and those items, those ships, those vehicles, the armor and weapons, that's how you progress in Star Citizen.
All right, before this clip, they said this is coming in the next few months, but then later it was mentioned to be a tech preview. So the small scale is probably a good thing, fixing a lot of bugs and gathering feedback, things like that. The progression comments, it's hard to assume players will be losing much progression on death based on everything he just said. So I don't know how I'm feeling. You guys know how I feel about the destruction of things, making crafting make more sense. But yeah, the next part is important to pay attention in the video. There are some real hints here.
Crafting isn't just a progression mechanic for creating new items. It's also a fundamental change to how we handle resources in the game. The materials that you collect, how you refine them, quality matters.
Crafting the weapons, you'll be able to have some quality materials to influence the item stats on those weapons.
It'll be somewhat random, potentially weighted on the location of the material. Some will have a higher chance of higher quality. And once you take those materials to your crafting bench, the fabricator, you can use them to craft, and the different attributes will be increased based on the quality of the materials you use. It's not just iron ore anymore, it's iron ore of the quality that you know will get you the stats for the item that you desire. And it's not just mining, it's essentially every resource we can get our hands on.
To support this, we also need major changes to inventory. so that all of these new resources that you're collecting, you can see what you have, you can order it better, you can understand what you have in your inventory.
We won't have the new refining crafting system yet. We'll be using the existing ones. Those will pass the quality through into the refined materials, which you can then take to your crafting machine and start making your personal items. Once you have your blueprint and your quality materials that you've refined, then you can put them together on the item fabricator. This will be pretty much what we showed in last year's Citizencon, with the UI letting you assign your quality resources to different aspects of the item. Once you're happy with what you see on the preview, you'll be able to click to craft and it'll get queued up and your result will be produced sometime later.
So you can see the quality when mining was a little red box, and when they actually craft, the craft added damage mitigation to an item. So yeah, go back and pause if you didn't see any of that stuff. So that's showing their intentions, right? But you can also see how far away this is based on the fact that it's very much using dev tools, not even dev UI. There was no UI shown at all that we were interacting with. So the inventory, except for the inventory UI, which also looked very early and hard to comment on, but yeah, a little rough. And then next we learn about the crafting table.
You'll be able to get the new crafting machine from shops in most landing zones. You'll be able to bring it up on your freight elevator and use it in your personal hangar, or tractor beam it around and stick it on a ship if you want to use it from there.
There'll be a small amount of blueprints you get credited to your account just to test and mess around, but the vast majority of them will be earned through missions, and then you can use that blueprint to craft the item that it is that you've got the blueprint for. So it should be a good reason to go and test all the different various missions in the game.
At first, I was really annoyed by the fact that the table was movable and you had to load it with resources with a tractor beam. But I guess this is the very entry-level stuff that allows you to craft things that you might need on the go. And, you know, kind of bring it with you and be able to make some ammo or something that opens up the idea of being more self-sufficient. I don't know why that would upset me, right? That sounds super fun and super good. And lastly, for crafting, they give examples of what we can do with our tweaking.
The advantage of crafting your own items is that they'll be better than anything that you could buy from shops. You'll be able to increase and improve item stats that are relevant to your gameplay. Maybe your gun will shoot faster, maybe it'll do some more damage, or your armor will have greater resistances against environmental effects or incoming fire. You might be wondering, what about the upgrade and research? That will be coming in a subsequent release. We're happy with this initial scope for crafting.
It's going to be so valuable for us as devs to kind of get the metrics in, get the feedback in, because then we can make the changes that, you know, they only become obvious, so to speak, when you have kind of mass amounts of data and mass amounts of users using it. So I'm very excited to get it out in the wild.
Now, don't look at the visual examples that they gave, but I do think that is where some of the feedback will be. Like, hey, we made something insanely OP. It probably shouldn't be there, but maybe we, shouldn't do that. And yeah, so it's just obvious bugs that they'll fix and things like that. And with that said, it's my understanding that this is more Star Wars Galaxies than EVE Online. I think I've talked a lot about EVE Online and how much I love their economy, their crafting system. I know nearly nothing about Star Wars Galaxies, but people loved it, and I think from this point forward, I got to do some research and probably even play the game for a little while to get a better understanding of it. But overall, I have my concerns, and in the end, we'll just see. And the most polarizing feature in the show is where we go next.
We're bringing instancing to Star Citizen in 2026. Why are we doing it, and how will it work? So if you've played any content in 2025 in Star Citizen, you know that most of these areas were in actual PvP zones where other players could interfere. Instancing is a means to create an environment where designers can create tailored content that's tuned to a specific group size, but it is also protected from outside interference. It's not to say that we don't love PvP. I'm a PvP guy. PvP me, bro. But like most MMOs, a good balance between a dangerous overworld and a protected instances is needed. Right now, we don't have this ability, and this is something we really need in order to give you a sense of progression that is tailored and balanced to a tunable amount of groups, so the difficulty matches the group size. There's a beginning and an end. It doesn't mean that that doesn't fit in our overworld strategy, meaning getting to the instance is dangerous, exiting the instance is dangerous, or can be interfered with others. But at least when you're playing the content, we can actually make something that's curated for one experience.
All right, so outside interference was brought up like 3 different times during the show. It feels like it is not because the player is mad as much, and they will be because, yeah, they'll get mad, but because it makes the content and designer basically that like they want to make a certain thing, and it's impossible with the variables that, you know, those open experiences can create. That is not to say that the PvP adverse Spectrum posts and Reddit posts didn't have their part in this, right? I'm sure they did, but it literally just wouldn't be a good experience for most players in most content. Like, imagine if ASD was just an open area. How do you participate in the story and listen to things? It's just a bit of a mess. And yeah, even the irradiated Valakar fight, like there was some lore there, and yeah, it ended up not being that big of a deal, but it could be, and I think they can tailor things a little bit more to players. And then Ben goes into how it's going to work.
Instancing is really an evolution over static to dynamic meshing. We want your instances to be as seamless as your instance hangars, meaning that when you take an elevator, you exit the elevator, you're inside the instance. A gateway opens, you cross that gateway, you're now into your instances. Could be also a quantum jump into an instance that you don't even see. The transition is just like a dynamic mesh transition. And so throughout the universe, we will be able to add these areas that are open or closed instances that allow you to join in either with a party and have a reserved instance for your party, or join an open instances that has a number of slots. And so some of those areas will be completely instanced on different servers. This allows us to leverage the compute power of the entire mesh. The closed ones will be really to drive one piece of content. You enter and exit seamlessly, just like we do with your instance hangars currently.
So this is probably what matters most. Just before he mentions the potential for dedicated PvP instances, like before the clip that we just watched. So that is the thing that they want to do. I immediately thought of Jumptown, but after this clip, they went down, you know, kind of a few minutes to share that Siege of Orison will be the first instance content that we get. In the end, how they implement all this is everything. If it's poor and too restrictive to the open world stuff, it will be bad. And CIG hasn't given confidence in to their entire audience, at least, to believe and trust them that they'll be doing this really well. So players are right to be concerned. You have every right to be, because what reason has CIG given you not to be, right? The next part was super vague, to be honest, but they are bringing what we thought would be the Area 18 sewers, but at Levski instead. And they said it would include a bunch of different loops like Salvage and such like that, and not just PvE. But again, this is so far off. It just explains why they want to curate stuff, right? It's very far away, and that's all I want to take with this, is because we'll get an ISC at some point on what this is actually like, I imagine. And then we get a quick chat with Richard Tyrer, and a lot of it was patting themselves on the back for a great year, but then he said this.
The next part would be physical mission givers. That's something that we're going to be working towards very soon, with Battaglia being the first one coming back in the verse. And just to be clear, we will be bringing all the mission givers eventually back, and we want them to be an integral part of the verse and the story that players go and enjoy.
All right, mission givers, and the first one is Recco Battaglia, and the first mission giver is one that we have not seen in a very, very long time, right? Because we have not had Delamar at all. And I think she's probably going to give us mining missions, because that's kind of what she did previous, but I'm not entirely sure about the idea of having to visit mission givers. Let me know what you guys think on this. I hope they utilize conversation stuff remotely as well. Like, I just talked up to my mom on FaceTime today. Like, why is this not something that we're doing? I don't get it. And then the last content that we saw was tactical strike groups, and they did the same thing again and spoiled everything for the most part of what you will do there. So this is basically putting together everything they showed with the new faction instancing Vandal ships and even turrets to counter capital ships. They basically want to make a trench run from Star Wars, at least that's what they said. All of the things in the show, all of the things in the show, this is the one I expect to be the least likely to work on launch. There are a lot of moving parts and a lot of ways to fail. So with that, that is my Star Citizen Citizencon breakdown for Week in Review. I will do a lot more in depth on the TV channel throughout the week, so get subscribed over there and check it out. And with that, let's move into other updates. All right, as always, we start out with sneak peek. This was not much of a sneak at all since we play the PTU. This was the entrance to the Yormandi fight in the ASD facilities, so nothing to spend too much time on there. Then we had a subscriber update, and the timing of this was actually really comical because this was released the day before the Yormandi actually came out, so they kind of spoiled what the Yormandi looked like and what it would do, which is weird. So the $10 sub item is a jacket with the Yormandi on it. I'm still waiting to see where clothing is ever going to play a role in this game. And then a $20 sub is, again, an item that I would have loved to see as a reward in game or reputation thing on the store. Just the funny thing is we saw the new boss fight before we got the boss fight with this. Very odd. And then, of course, they have the package combined for, the two things combined on the subscriber store. Speaking of stores, ship sales from Citizencon. The Anvil Paladin. Big thing about this ship is it has a lot of health, really good firepower if it's fully crewed, and it is quite nimble, apparently, even for its size, or at least it's more nimble in comparison to the next ship we're going to talk about. This is going to be a really nice Hathor ship, I think, just for dropping people off and picking them up and defending, or taking out worms on the ground, stuff like that. It's priced at $350, though, which is insane. That's just so much money. It's crazy. Like, hey, I get it. People pay for it. Go for it, CIG, but it's just crazy to think about. And then the skins are, I don't know, they're just kind of like okay for me. Let me know in the comments if you liked any of these skins. And then the Vandal Stinger. This is easily the coolest looking ship in the lineup, but unfortunately, people are saying that it is really, really poor performing right now as a ship. Heavy fighters are already struggling, and this is the worst of the lineup, apparently. And for all that performance, it's priced at $290 for new money or $315 for store credit. Another just like, whoa. It shouldn't be a shock to me, but it always will be. That is so much money. But I really liked some of the skins. I don't think anything would look bad on this ship, to be honest. It's beautiful. And then the Gray Market Shiv. Another poor performer, but for a different reason, apparently. This is a ship that was or will be in Squadron, and the word is it is basically extremely outdated. The vibe people are getting is the ship was just thrown in here to sell, and the quality bar is going down to deliver more sales for the company. It's $135 with new money or $150 with store credit for Squadron's leftovers, I guess. I didn't even hear how it performs. Nobody seemed to care. It was interesting. IAE will probably deliver a lot more and just better. So looking forward to that. And that's where we'll leave it. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to try any of these ships. I do look forward to trying them tomorrow. Maybe subscribe to this channel or check out my stream and we'll get there. But let me know what you guys thought about how I covered Citizencon. I did the best I could, I think, given the time and without overly spoiling or repeating or anything like that, especially around the mission types. So, we're going to get to play all this stuff fairly soon, it seems, so I don't get the point of spoiling it. I don't know why they did. I just don't think they have a lot to go on. And the other thing is, a lot of this stuff sounded very much like 2025 type content, very focused on story that they're still not doing a great job of telling. But yeah, they're 100% right that more people have played this game than ever, and more people are playing it for longer. So they're doing a great job in some aspects, and in others, not so much. So crazy that we're getting a new system, and we're getting it so soon. And I look forward to checking it out, and I look forward to reading your comments and checking out everything down below. So if you are new here and you are enjoying these videos, make sure you get subscribed, hit like the video if you guys enjoyed it. Actually, like the video because I put a lot of work into this one all week to try to stay on top of this. and get you this on time. I hope it comes out on time. And yeah, leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought about anything that we talked about, as well as anything I might have missed from Citizencon or throughout the week. We didn't do any dev posts just for time, to be honest. And yeah, that's where we'll leave it. And I'll see you guys next week.